Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, where we share stories of inventors who turn their idea into a product. Please visit our website at www.inventionstories.com. And now, from the Invention Stories podcast World Headquarters Studios in Morro Bay, California, is our host, Robert Baer.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, brought to you by the Socket Saver. My name is Robert Baer, and thank you for joining us. You're listening to episode 28, our interview with Louis Foreman of Enventys and Edison Nation. This episode is the second in a three-part series. We've got Louis Foreman on the line, so let's get back to the interview. Now, Louis, what was your first patented invention?
Yeah, my first patent is on custom formed soccer shin guards. So basically took a medical technology, material that's used in splinting and casting, and incorporated it into soccer shin guards. So you could make a custom molded shin guard in less than 10 minutes. And so I ended up licensing that intellectual property to companies like Nike, Adidas, Puma, and just about every soccer brand, around the world.
Why did you pick that as your very first product? Was it from playing and you felt like the shin guards weren't working or could be improved upon?
I think it's just a matter of opportunity. I met someone in Charlotte that had developed this technology for the medical field, and I thought with what I knew about sports protective products that there were applications beyond just medical, and so it was a great opportunity to expand into other products. And so, I had patents on using that technology for baseball forearm guards and batter's leg guards, so in football products, and it really just got this interest in developing products. But what was probably the most transformational aspect of it is I realized that as I was developing these products, there weren't local resources to help me in that process. I would work with design firms and engineering firms and marketing companies and branding agencies, package design companies, web development firms, PR agencies. And when I would work with all these companies, if the product wasn't successful, everyone wanted to blame somebody else for why it wasn't successful versus someone just kind of taking accountability and saying, hey, we dropped the ball. And so in 2001, I said, enough is enough. I'm going to start a company that is going to be held accountable for bringing a product to market. And we're going to go out there and we're going to hire all those talented industrial designers and mechanical engineers and prototyping people. We're going to hire marketing and branding experts. We're going to hire videographers and web developers and PR experts. And we're going to bring them all under one roof. We're going to be very selective in who we work with, but ultimately we're going to be held accountable for whether or not a product is successful or not. And we're going to be held accountable by tying some of our compensation to the success of the product. And so that was the birth of Enventys, and we've been doing that now for 16 years, and it's done really well.
And how did you come up with the name?
Yeah, it's part entrepreneur, it's part ventures. It's part misspelling a couple, because it makes it easier to get a domain and a trademark. But the root of Enventys is entrepreneurial ventures. But it does sound a little bit like inventing as well. And really, it's a company that is built on providing solutions to what a customer is looking for. Whether you're a big company like Rubbermaid trying to bring a new product to market, or you're a startup or entrepreneur that is trying to launch their very first product, what we've got here in this building is all the resources necessary to go from concept to commercialization.
Wow, that's quite the ambitious undertaking. Really impressive. I want to ask you, when the internet really came on in the scene in the 90s, before the first dot-com bust, how did you view it? How did you view the internet early on?
We always saw it as a tool. We never really looked at it as a get-rich-quick scheme or trying to create a dot-com business. Kind of missed out on those opportunities. It was really focused on other things at the time. But what we do is, in many cases, is very analog. It's engineering, it's design work, it's prototyping work, which, the internet doesn't necessarily provide a lot of assistance there. But as we've grown and as our business has expanded, shifted and we've gotten into more digital marketing, the internet can be an incredibly effective way to help validate products. It can be a great way to aggregate intellectual property. And so over the years, as the internet has evolved and as accessibility to the internet has increased, we kind of shifted resources to embrace that.
Yeah, I can see that being adaptable. I'd like to ask you about your first invention, the shin guards. How did the patent process go for you? Did you have any problems? Did it cost what you thought or take as long as you had imagined? Did you actually write out the patent paperwork, or did you get help with that, or how did that go?
Yeah, overall, I would say the patent process was very fair and reasonable. The timing of it was not excessive. I worked with really good patent attorneys to draft the claims and to prosecute the applications. Just about every patent that we filed was allowed. So we had a good understanding of the novelty of what we were creating. And ultimately, the patent is, in many cases, the most valuable asset that you'll own, because by preventing others from making, using, or selling what you've created, you create this ability to either bring the product to market yourself, or you can license that intellectual property to others. And so it's been very fortuitous for us to be a patent owner and to own a number of patents in a variety of different industries.
Let me ask you, because I believe that if you have deep pockets and somebody infringes on your patent, you can go after them. But a lot of inventors are small business owners, and when somebody infringes on their patent, they're told to prepare to spend a lot of money to fight it. And I think that's wrong. I mean, do you believe that part of the patent process can be improved on?
I think you can improve just about every process. We've been very fortunate over the years that we haven't had to go out and spend an exorbitant amount of money to go after infringers. It's not to say that people don't infringe on our patents, because they do. We get a lot of knockoffs of products that we've created that flood into the U.S. market. But the problem is it's trying to shut those infringers down, especially if they're overseas. It's like playing whack-a-mole. You knock one down and two pop up somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good visualization. I'd like to ask you about how, when you grew your business as far as when you started Enventys, did you have a business plan and a flow chart? And I'm sure you had aha moments. And I guess I'm asking you, how did you make it all work? And how did you know exactly what to do?
I've been doing this for a really long time. So some of it comes natural, and then some of it you learn from mistakes, or you learn from bringing in people who have done it before. We've got, a great organization. We've got great people in the right positions. And what we try to do is make sure that, we hire the right people.
And you get rid of the wrong people when you recognize that they're not what you thought they were? Or
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much that you get rid of them as much as they eventually kind of weed themselves out of the company. They either grow with you or you grow out of them.
And now it's time for a commercial break. The Invention Stories podcast is brought to you by the Socket Saver. Do the plugs fall out of your wall sockets? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. No repairs necessary, no circuit breakers involved, no electrical knowledge or mechanical skills required. Socket Savers are inexpensive, efficient, and portable. For more information, please visit www.socketsaver.com. You've started like 10 different startups, so once you got Enventys up and running, how long was it before you started thinking about doing something different?
Yeah, we're constantly starting companies, but all of those companies are somehow related to what our core focus is. So Enventys was the first business in the product development space, but a couple of years into Enventys, we recognized that a lot of the people who were coming to see us didn't necessarily want to hire us. They didn't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur and start a business. What they had was a great idea, and they needed someone to help turn that great idea into a product. And so we would provide some free consulting to these individuals. Sometimes we would ask them to come to a seminar that we may be doing at the U.S. Patent Office or at a local community college. But we were looking for a more scalable approach. How could we reach a larger audience with the message of what it takes to turn an idea into a product. And back in the early 2000s, I saw reality TV as a great way to not only inspire people to follow through with their ideas, but more importantly, to educate them on the process. So in 2005, we said, let's do a reality TV show around invention. And there was not a Shark Tank yet. There weren't any other reality shows based on invention. So we started the show Everyday Edisons with a very simple premise, and that is, we believe everyone has a great idea, but most people will never follow through with that idea because life gets in the way. They realize they don't have the time or the money or the expertise to pursue it. And so our first season, we had casting calls in Charlotte, Tampa, Nashville, Columbia, South Carolina, and Atlanta. And thousands of people showed up, and they brought their ideas, and we chose some great ideas and developed them on the show, and Everyday Edisons was born.
Oh, okay. So did you have Edison Nation before you did Everyday Edisons?
No, so Edison Nation evolved out of the TV show Everyday Edisons. So Everyday Edisons, we produced 4 seasons of the show, 52 episodes. We won 2 Emmys in the process. And what we found is that people were coming to these casting calls, and they would spend hours. They would be in line for 6, 7, 8 hours, sometimes longer. And we were doing 5 of these casting calls, every season. People would line up, all day long for the opportunity to meet with us. But back then, back in, 2007, 2008, 2009, that was the most efficient way to gather those ideas because you had to be able to demonstrate your prototype. You had to be able to make your pitch. And uploading a video was very difficult at that point because we didn't have the devices or the technology to take and shoot something on a phone and just post it online. But by 2008, that technology was getting much more accessible. And so in 2008, we started Edison Nation to replicate that casting call process, to be able to give inventors the ability to share their ideas with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, instead of lining up at a convention center across the country.
I love Everyday Edisons, and to all you listening, if you haven't watched it, I recommend that you do so. And I love Shark Tank, but, your show is more educational.
Yes.
And I like that. Did you produce Everyday Edisons with PBS in mind, or did you shop it around?
The only place we went to was PBS. So we did not want to have to throw people off an island. We didn't want to have to humiliate people. And not that reality TV on the major networks is all about humiliation, but what gets viewers to watch those shows is there's got to be some drama. And we didn't want the drama to be at the expense of the inventor. We didn't want to humiliate someone in the process. And so we chose PBS because we wanted the show to be educational. We chose PBS because we didn't want it to be subject to ratings or sponsors. We wanted to produce something that would help people along this journey of going from an idea to getting their product to the marketplace. And so we did it under our terms. And look, we didn't have the same production budget as Shark Tank. We probably produced an entire season of Everyday Edisons for what it cost for them to produce one episode of Shark Tank. But at the time when we were producing this, back 10 years ago almost, we thought we were providing a great service to the inventor community, something that would help them learn from the success or the mistakes of others.
And that's the reason we started InventionStories.com and this Invention Stories podcast, so other people can learn from other inventors' mistakes and successes. I went on PBS to stream Everyday Edisons, but couldn't find it, so I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, I think the digital rights to it have expired, so when we originally did it for PBS, they had the rights to stream it for a certain period of time, and then the show, the 4 seasons were on Hulu for a number of years, and now we're talking with another network that may pick it up. But the job of the show is complete. What we really wanted to use was the show as a way to educate people, but now everyone can get that same education through Edison Nation. So the great videos, the interviews with guys like Jeff Bezos or James Dyson are now on Edison Nation. We've got a community on Edison Nation where people can learn from others. And then, of course, we deliver opportunities to our inventor community through the searches we do. So when a company is looking for a product, they launch those searches on Edison Nation, and our community responds by submitting ideas.
I want to ask about Everyday Edison just because I was really fascinated by it. You had 35,000 ideas in 5 weeks for the final episode. With that kind of demand, was it hard to stop after 4 seasons? Why not go for 5 seasons, or why did you go for 4 seasons?
We're not a TV company. We never did this because we're a TV production company or that we were looking for the limelight of TV. We wanted to create something that at least brought awareness of innovation and the path that an inventor can take to get their idea to market. And we felt that what we had created online with Edison Nation would allow for that education and opportunity to continue in perpetuity. Whereas the TV show was a lot of work. It was a lot of effort, taking everyone from the building, 5 months, out of the year to these casting calls, having people line up for hours and hours to pitch their ideas. Why did we need that when they could just do it online? If we were a production company, if we were a TV company and that was our business, yes, absolutely. We would have found other ways to continue to run the show for years and years and years. But we're not a TV company. We're an innovation company that takes ideas and turns those ideas into products.
So did any other networks like ABC come to you and want you to produce episodes for them?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I don't think there was. We certainly had inquiries from other groups that wanted to do a show. We actually shot a pilot for a network show for celebrity invention that ended up not going anywhere. But TV is not where our passion is. Our passion is being able to solve a problem with, a great product. Our passion is helping someone launch their product for the very first time in the marketplace. Our passion is around helping someone license their product to a manufacturer and seeing the product go to market.
Yeah, and work is much more enjoyable when you're following your passion, so I understand that. I know I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I want to sort of hit some of the things that you're sort of known for as well, like the Gyro Bowl. And when I watched that, I was like, wow, this thing doesn't fall. And anybody who's ever been around little kids, they're always dropping stuff and making a mess. How is that Gyro Bowl today? Is that still selling like gangbusters? Or
I wouldn't say it's selling like gangbusters. I think it still generates some sales, but a lot of times with these products, especially the as seen on TV type products that we've done a lot of, they'll take off like a rocket. They'll do really well for a year, and then the product tapers off, and there's really not a whole lot of volume afterwards. We've seen a lot of knockoffs of the Gyro Bowl. My guess is that more like fake Gyro Bowls are sold every year than the legitimate ones. And a lot of it's just too difficult to go after every single company that's infringing on it.
Yeah, there's always so much time in the day. And is that what you do? You try to prioritize? I want to ask you a little bit about your time management and how do you approach it? How do you approach it? How do you know what to do when?
I think some of it is triage and some of it is just luck that everything seems to work out. But, I try to focus on the most important things first because those are the most critical. And then hopefully with a little patience and flexibility, everything else gets done.
I watched your guitar presentation on YouTube and you had a slide with a Dilbert cartoon that read, "Good ideas have no value because the world already has too many of them. The market rewards execution, not ideas." Is that what you're really focused on, is execution and trying to streamline and get smarter and better about execution and educate inventors about execution?
Yeah, talk is cheap. People can talk a great story. They can have these amazing ideas. They can be filled with passion for their idea. But if they don't take the next step, if they don't actually do something with the idea, all they're left with is that idea. And so I talk with a lot of people every year, thousands of people, and everyone has that great idea. I mean, everyone, when I speak with a group, will admit that they've got a great invention idea or a way to improve something or a great business idea, but the vast majority will never follow through because they're just not comfortable with the risk.
You've been listening to episode 28 of the Invention Stories podcast, our interview with Louis Foreman, part 2. I want to thank Louis for being our guest today. More information can be found at www.enventyspartners.com. That's www.enventyspartners.com and at www.edisonnation.com. The Invention Stories podcast has been sponsored by The Socket Saver. Does the plug fall out of your wall socket while vacuuming, drying your hair, using a power tool, or recharging your electronic devices? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. Please visit www.socketsaver.com. If you're an inventor who would like to be featured on the Invention Stories podcast, have a suggestion on how we can make this podcast better, or would like to become a sponsor, please contact us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to write a positive review for us on iTunes. An easy way to get there is to go to www.inventionstories.com/review. More information and show notes can be found at our website, www.inventionstories.com. Thank you very much for listening today, and please tell a friend.